unsurpassed, penetrating and perfect Dharma is rarely met with, even in 100,000 million kalpas. Having to see and listen to remember and accept. I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's words, and unsurpassed, penetrating and perfect Dharma is rarely met with, even in 100,000 million kalpas. Having it to see and listen to remember and accept. I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's words, and unsurpassed, penetrating and perfect Dharma is rarely met with, even in 100,000 million kalpas. Having it to see and listen to remember and accept. I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's words. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you for, can you hear me okay? Is this good? Thank you for coming to Green Gulch for the Dharma talk. I wanted to see how many of you for whom this is your first time here. Great, that's wonderful, thank you. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Linda. And I've been living at Green Gulch for 30 years, believe it or not. So I wanted to mention that our abiding abbot, Jiryu Rushman Byler, just had a loss in his family. His mother passed away. Her name is on our altar. And so I've been giving a few lectures that he has not been able to offer due to the family needs. And we offer our condolences to him and his whole family during this time. So next week, just in a few days, we have this event that takes place every 4 years of an election, presidential election. And I've been thinking about what do I want to say just a few days before this momentous election, this year in particular. So I first wanted to encourage everyone to vote. If you haven't already, please vote. And everybody online who's watching, please vote. And, Zen Center's mission is it doesn't have a political mission, but it does have the mission of studying our life, studying reality, studying ourselves, and living for the benefit of all beings. So with that as the underpinning, how do we vote? How do we express ourselves in a way that's in alignment with the teachings with our deepest wishes for this world, for each other, and how do we practice in this situation of great turbulence and turmoil and emotions running very, very high. And so I've certainly been feeling a lot of, there's been some nights it's been hard to fall asleep if I've watched something online, a clip, or and then there's not feeling anything at all, or I don't, ostrich, is it ostriches that put their head? Yes, ostrich practice, and then opening again, and what is our practice? And I imagine, I've gotten emails from people saying, I'm panicking, what can I do? And to me, this is having strong feelings, strong emotions, strong body responses is not unusual. And along with that panic, there's fear, there's distress, there's, disquiet, foreboding, alarm. All these things maybe you might be feeling, or those you know are feeling. So it prompted me to go back to some very basic teachings in Buddhism, and also some teachings that were given to me directly that I wanted to share with you. Basically, how to practice with some of what we might be feeling, this foreboding and alarm, fear. So in 2000, I was, I'm not sure what the word is, installed. I was invited to take the mountain seat and sit in the abbatial seat for San Francisco Zen Center, along with my co-abbatial seat holder, Blanche Hartman. So the two of us shared the co-abbatial seat. And during that ceremony, which is a big ceremony, and people are invited to speak, people inside the community and outside the community. And I invited Pema Chodron to attend, and she was not able to attend, but she sent these words, which I wanted to share with you, that were read on her behalf at the ceremony. Reveal your inner thoughts. Approach what you find repulsive. Help those you do not want to help. Anything you are attached to, let it go. Go to places that scare you. I hope they didn't get scared just not coming in. There was also directions of how to read this. So after reveal your inner thoughts, it says pause. And then go to places that scare you. After that, it says pause slightly longer than above. Go to places that scare you. If you do not grasp with your mind, you will find a fresh state of being. And then there was a little commentary. This was the advice given to the Tibetan yogini Ma Chig Lap Drol Ma, And it has so inspired me throughout the years that I pass it on to you, the gift of Dharma on this auspicious occasion. And then I think later she wrote that book, Go to the Places That Scare You. So I felt this instruction was just right, because I really want to practice Buddha Dharma. I want to practice it with the depth of my non-being and being. And I also know that I can be overwhelmed, I can be angry, irritated, confused, fearful. So, and approach what you find repulsive. And you can ask yourself about your own practice. I get repulsed when something is repulsive. And of course, what is repulsive to me may not be repulsive to someone else. What repulses me does not repulse someone else. And remembering that, practicing with that, and walking in the depths of the ocean floor, even though there's waves and tsunamis and storms. How do I walk on the ocean floor? And not only walk or have actions, but all the actions, all the karma of body, speech, and mind. And when I'm unable to, then the practice is to acknowledge, admit, and say, this is not how I want to act, and come back to Buddha Dharma. These are very, very basic practices, but I do feel these times, for me, call for the most basic. Help those you do not want to help. Let go of all attachments. Go to the places that scare you. So, flowing from that, I began to look at some of the most basic teachings that I have trust, I have confidence. All trust and all teachings are unreliable, untrustworthy, because they are impermanent. Everything that comes together will come apart again. This is our life. This is human life. This is the teaching of impermanence. And without forgetting that, where do I place my provisional, knowing it will go away? Confidence with faith. And the confidence comes from practicing with them and seeing what happens. So I wanted to offer again, some of you may have heard these practices before, very, very basic bodhisattva practices of the four, they have different names, the four divine abodes is one name, the four immeasurables. And these are loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. Now, I just want to stop here for a moment, because those four, one might say, yeah, but I want to do something, how's that going to help me do something in the face of fears and unwanted outcomes, as well as unspeakably horrific wars and destruction of peoples and countries and our climate and the earth that are going on right now. What do you mean, loving kindness, compassion, equanimity? You can't have equanimity in the face of that. One might have that kind of response. And I think if we're too much on the surface of what these practices are, if we, confuse compassion with being nice, or loving kindness with kind of liking people, or sympathetic joy with, I don't know, I'm just making these up off the cuff, having a birthday party for your friend or something. So these practices go very, very deep, and they flow from the teaching that all dharmas, which means all things, all beings, are empty of separateness. These teachings flow from our interconnected life and our self, which is no self, and our vows to live for the benefit of beings, the impossible bodhisattva vows, boundless bodhisattva vows. So these four practices, I think that's why they're called the immeasurables or the divine abodes. So each one of these, loving kindness, is, wishing for all beings to be happy, to be safe, to be free, and to have the causes and conditions for their happiness. This is this loving kindness and friendliness. And acting so that may be in our own little sphere of where we shine a light in our own, all those who live with us and speak with us, we practice in this way. Through our actions of body, speech, and mind. And for each person, that may look slightly different. Each one of these four abodes has a near enemy and a far enemy. The near enemies sort of look like loving kindness, but actually, if you look closer, it's not. There's something extra there, and it doesn't lead to a fresh state of being, as Pema said. So for loving kindness, the near enemy is clinging to someone, our loved ones. And these relationships, the three relationships that are named as particularly intense, are parents and children, partners, loving lovers, and teacher-student relationships are three that are named as, having this possibility of attachment, clinging, and a kind of self-involvement that may not be true loving kindness. And I think we know this from our own family life, and our own, just through our own life, we know when this happens, a grasping, attachment, such that, love is blind, right? Where we can't see, or we don't want to see that this isn't so healthy maybe, and yet we're so attached. So, and calling it loving kindness. That's the near enemy for loving kindness. The far enemy is envy, hatred, aversion, right? The kind of opposite, you might say, of loving kindness is hatred, aversion. Sorry, it's not envy. Envy, it goes with another one. Yeah. Hatred. The second of the abodes is compassion, which in kind of reading it, you can say compassion. You can also say, may all beings be free from suffering and the causes and conditions of suffering. So compassion completely goes along with suffering. The near enemy of compassion is pity. Oh, the poor thing. Oh, I feel so sorry for them. And we also know what it feels like to be on that end. Compassion is even, parallel to suffer with someone. Compassion is suffering with, rather than I'm up here looking down on you, poor thing. We don't want that or need that, but to have someone with us and understanding and wishing for our well-being and our life to be free from suffering and the causes and conditions of suffering, we can benefit from that. So this near enemy is pity, and also overwhelm is we see someone's situation or hear about someone's situation, and it's too much. We can't bear it, and so we can't be with them, suffer with. We have to turn away. So pity, overwhelm, where we can't do anything, and then there's the kind of too much compassion, where it's not based on truly trying to meet someone where they are, but it's jumping in there when no help is. Oh, they're helpless, I'll be the helper. I'm the savior, let me in there to help. That's a kind of compassion that leads to, or can lead to, fatigue, compassion fatigue. We're always the one, I'm the helper. Look to me, I'm going to help. Those are all near enemies of compassion. In the sutras, it says that we need to have a true assessment of what's going on to be able to meet it with our full capacity and accuracy, clear comprehension of purpose. And it also says in the sutras that our heart, when we hear about suffering or see suffering or meet it, our heart quivers in response. We have a physical response. So to include this quivering heart that cares, that loves, that wants beings to be freed from suffering and the causes of suffering, without overwhelm or without this really compassion that isn't really helpful, that's jumping in before needed. Where's the clear comprehension of purpose and what's needed? And for that, we need to be clear ourselves. The far enemy, so we have the near enemy of pity, overwhelm, and this undifferentiated kind of compassion. And then the far enemy is cruelty. Actually, not by mistake, having something land in a way that was unkind, you didn't intend, but actually wanting to hurt, wanting to cut down, wanting to destroy. And we can say, oh, no, not me, but I think in all these practices, it's up to us to thoroughly look and see what's there in our own hearts. Even vestiges of cruelty can be there, can be part of our shadow. And definitely we see it in this political life right now, the level of not innuendo at all anymore, but actual, promises and statements and threats, at a level I have never seen before. And that flows from the three poisons of greed, hate, and delusion. It's not just somehow this happened. This comes from all the causes and conditions and our collective life. And so, what is our response? Clear purpose, clear comprehension of purpose. The third of the four, so we have this loving kindness, compassion. The third is called sympathetic joy, mudita. And sympathetic joy is rejoicing in the good fortune of others, both in their life's accomplishments, their graduating from, high school or college or getting a good job or whatever it is that people are happy with, proud of, work to accomplish, to be happy with them and have joy with them. Sympathetic joy, joy with others, responding with joy to the good fortune of others, and also in the Dharma for people's vows and for their ways of dedicating their lives to find joy in that. And this joy is your joy. You feel it in your own body. To rejoice with someone means you feel joy as well. This is a wonderful divine abode, sympathetic joy. I always use the example for this of like a child, a baby, a toddler who begins to walk, and everybody around them is just overjoyed. Here they go, wow, and everybody's just like, and nobody in that circle of family or friends is saying, oh, what about me? I walk all the time. Nobody's clapping for me, It's just like not there. Everybody's, that's like a beautiful example of sympathetic joy. It's just total joy without any of the near enemies, which are, one is overexcitement. I suppose you could get overexcited, but lots of excitement about something and a kind of manic, actually Pema says manic, running around and, I don't know, with joy about something or other, but it's too much, So we don't want to be separated from the great happiness of others, and we also don't want to kind of overdo it. And the other near enemy, besides the overwhelm and them, is not really connecting with people, with their joy, kind of going through the motions. Oh, that's great, but not really feeling it. And then the far enemy comes up, which is envy and resentment. And I imagine as human beings, we all know and can remember times of, why not me, why them? And I wish it were me, and the word covet, is wishing things that belong to somebody else belong to me. And from that envy, from all the near enemies, from all the near and far, our practice of the precepts can be, we can stop observing our precepts with envy, cruelty, hatred and aversion, of course. Those are the far enemies. So resenting someone or something that they got and I didn't, what about me? And it's a very poisonous feeling. Resentment, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the root of the word is to smoke something, over time, or roast it. It's like resentment. It really can fill our body for years, We don't forget that, and there it is again, and we feel it over and over. So it's a very powerful, and its antidote, is this rejoicing in others' joy, which is our joy too. So the last of the four is equanimity, upeksha. And this equanimity is a kind of underpinning for all the other ones, because it allows us to have a clear purpose and to see clearly and to not be thrown or overwhelmed, a kind of balanced and a calm. However, the near enemy is what looks like balance and calm, but is actually indifference. Detachment, not the detachment that's healthy, like not grasping and clinging, allowing things to be without grasping after them, that kind of detachment. But this near enemy for equanimity is who cares? And it might look like calm. That's why it's a near enemy. It's like, what are they? Are they this wonderful calm person, or they just are indifferent? Whatever happens, happens, so who cares? The far enemy is prejudice, prejudgment, bias, and acting from there. So rather than this clear sense, and out of the clear sense, finding one's clarity of mind and purpose and acting from there, instead of that, it's already prejudged and biased. And this prejudice includes a closed-mindedness, self-righteousness, taking sides, strongly taking sides, and having enemies. It kind of comes with the territory, this kind of biased, prejudged way. And I have to really look at this is there self-righteousness there? I know what's right and you're wrong. Is that so? Is that where I want to come from? Rather than clearly observing what I see and wanting the Buddha Dharma to guide me as I speak and act? Or is it self-righteousness? I know what's right. And they might look the same, but there's quite a difference there. And also in this enemy of equanimity is enemies. Even a little bit feeling like they're out to get me or they don't. Really? Is that true? And we're hearing about enemies. How can we clearly observe this kind of talk that sows fear, that touches our most vulnerable parts, that creates conditions for confusion, overwhelm? And am I partaking in that even without knowing it? Self-righteousness, taking sides, closed-minded, and enemies. So, where I want to be acting from, thinking, have it be flowing from this metta, loving kindness, karuna, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. Can that meet this world right now? Because we will need to meet it. I will need to meet it. Pema, in talking about these, she calls them the 4 limitless qualities. And she writes about them in the form of prayer or in the form of strong wishes, may it be so, which, in our practice, in our dedication of our chanting, in many, many Dharma statements, it's may all beings be free from suffering. So may all beings enjoy happiness, and the root of happiness, that's the first of these. May all beings be free from suffering, and the root of suffering, or the causes and conditions of suffering, which is, the primo root of suffering is self-clinging and belief in the ignorance about the true nature, our true nature. The third one, the mudita, or sympathetic joy, may we not be separated from the great happiness devoid of suffering. May we not be separated from it. And the fourth, may we dwell in the great equanimity, free from passion, aggression, and prejudice. I noticed that the kitchen went back to work. Well, I think I will stop there and open it to some questions, if there are any.
Just a moment, I'll get the microphone so that the folks online can hear us.
Is this working? It's working?
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for such a beautiful, timely talk. What arises in me in listening, I'm at an interesting point, I feel, in practice. Many of the teachings that have been conceptual, intellectual for years, I feel they've dropped to the heart and are starting to be lived, to be embodied. And as I am working from this place, experimenting from this place, what comes up the most is, what is the question of a lifetime? Which one? At which moment? Which teaching? Which medicine? And I wonder if you can speak to that. Thank you, Linda.
Welcome. What is the medicine of a lifetime? What is the teaching of a lifetime?
What is the appropriate response?
What is the appropriate response? And, no one can give you that. Like, your medicine is this. The appropriate response comes out of the entire universe together with all beings responds. So there's no formula. Let's see, oh yeah, it's that one, that's perfect for me. It will come out of your entire being. And sometimes the appropriate response is, it startles. It's not, you never in a million years would have. And to recognize that, to be open to that. So Suzuki Roshi, was asked, what's the most important thing? The founder of Zen Center, and I think he basically said to find out what the most important thing is. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Are you able to hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Perfect.
Yes.
Well, first I want to share again, thank you for such an insightful talk. And as you can hear, I have a stutter, so it will take me long to ask my question.
Thank you for your bravery and just taking the mic
Sure,
and
sure.
sharing that with us. Yes.
So I think all of us, especially right now at this moment in time, might be experiencing some increased anxieties. I know I am. And
Anxiety, yes.
Yes, and I overall am feeling beset with worry. How do we relax? How do we relax? Really relax? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Definitely. I think this anxiety, I think as I started out, people feeling fear and distress and confusion and overwhelm, anxiety. And often, one way to practice with fear actually is projecting out from what's going on now, what could happen. And it removes us from the present and from our body, actually, into a concept, a projection of what could possibly be. And then we get caught in that. We have the full body response of adrenalization, if that's a word, and peptides and whatever. And then more of the same, So to come back to right here. What is this? What's happening now? Where's my body? Can I breathe? Where's my bottom on the chair, on my cushion, lying down? And come into full breathing, full body breathing. And there are yoga ways of breathing and things that really work with calming the mind, Just staying with your breath the way it is, it will calm down. So our sitting practice, we can take our seat and be upset and agitated. And if we stay with our body and breath completely with, even if we think about something, come back, we will calm down. But there are other ways, there's this block. Do you know about the block? You take an inhale for 4 counts and then hold it for 4 counts. Exhale for 4 counts, hold it for, don't breathe. And it's called block breathing. It's not zazen. It's a kind of maybe a method to really work with our agitated bodies. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
You're welcome.
See your hands. Thank you so much.
I'm going to make my way over here. I don't know who was first, but I'll go here. Thank you.
Hello, thank you so much for.
Oh, there you are.
I'm right here. I was drawn to the word quiver,
Quiver.
and I find that very helpful. And thank you, our friend with the stutter, because there's a kind of quivering and a stutter, and there's a kind of immediacy, and using that as a guide, for my heart to what you were talking about. It was around, I think, compassion and some of the near enemies of compassion, to get over-involved and kind of lose boundaries and kind of rescue. That's sort of something I can relate to in my, in the sticky relationship of parent and child. And I found that word to be helpful because I think when I first learned about the opening of the heart to suffering from Pema, there was something helpful about that of okay, I'm not going to resist it, I'm going to open to it, but there can be this kind of melting and getting lost there. But I think that word quiver is helping me to, maybe I can just kind of vibrate with it first, and
Yes.
rather than plunge and melt and get lost.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. I think we're not really being asked to merge and get lost in somebody else's either happiness or, their suffering. We're being asked to respond appropriately and to feel what we feel, like this she also mentions, or there's another, I think it's from the sutras, a kind of startle upon being confronted with suffering. You're going along, and then, so this heart that quivers, and yes, and to be able to stay with that without losing ourselves and without turning away, right?
Well, even to continue with that word quiver, right, where the arrows are held.
Yeah, the quiver holds,
Yeah.
does the quiver hold the arrows?
Yeah.
Quiver
then
holds the
making-
arrows, and the arrow quivers as it goes, right? Yeah, quiver. I have to look up quiver.
Yeah, it made me really want to, put that on my wall this week.
Yes.
Thank you.
Quiver. The word fear, I did look up the word fear I was looking for here. The root of the word fear, maybe I didn't bring it. It's P-E-R. This is in the Indo-European, the roots that go back into many languages. And it's connected with experiment and experience of fear. Like, anyway, I found that interesting, the fear. Yeah.
Hi.
Where are
Back
you?
here.
There? Oh, hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for your talk this morning. I have this internal dialogue where, while all of those far enemies sound really terrible, there's a voice in my head that says, maybe there's a moment for them. So I can accept that, you can't defeat hate with hate, that love is needed to defeat hate. But there's another part of me in these times that thinks, well, I see that tolerance can maybe not sustain itself. If part of being tolerant is accepting intolerance, maybe you allow a space for intolerance to grow, and it needs to be combated. And I wonder, while we all want a world where there's no suffering, if we see cruelty and if we see injustice, it seems like there is a moment where maybe the appropriate feeling in response is to hate or envy if somebody has taken all the wealth or something like that. So are there ways to kind of accept that that justice kind of may give rise to these feelings?
Thank you. Thank you very much for bringing up that side of things. I think there definitely is a place for completely strong response, strong words, strong emotions, strong actions that are counter to what's going on, countermeasures. However, they do not flow from hate. The energy can be very similar to like really strong anger. Anger can come up when we see injustice, and that's an appropriate response. But it's not out of hate, which is really wanting someone to be destroyed or hurt or, it's like, yes, there is a place, there should be a place for that energy to be employed when needed. Yeah, so Buddhism isn't saying you tolerate out of, that's like the near enemy. Oh, well, I'm practicing equanimity, so I'll just let that go and, boys will be boys or whatever the thing is. Sorry. Instead, you harness that energy, because it is energy, but it's not it's not what the three poisons of greed, hate, and delusion. It comes from somewhere else, but it's stronger. It's stronger than greed, hate, and delusion. That energy that's motivated by seeing injustice, acting from clear purpose, supported by the basic teachings that we are interconnected and we are all in this together. I act from there, or the action flows from there. Thank you for your question.
I'm sorry, we're just at time.
Okay.
So.
Thank you
we'll
all
close
for
now.
your questions. Vote. Please help those who aren't able to vote, get to the polls. And this is at the end of the talk, we dedicate the merit, the positive energy that's been gathered here and been produced by our reflecting on the teaching, listening to the teaching, speaking about the teaching, bringing up your questions. There's a positive quality to that, and we don't hold on to that. We give it away to all beings in the 10 directions. That's the practice. So we're about to do that, so get ready. May our intention equally extend to every being and place with the true merit of Buddha.
Unsurpassable.